Hey there. Are you ready to have your mind blown? Today, we're going to explore a groundbreaking idea that has been gaining a lot of attention in the scientific community, the simulation hypothesis. In short, the simulation hypothesis proposes that the reality we experience is actually a complex computer program, and that we are living inside of it. Sound crazy? I know it does, but stick with me and I'll show you why this idea is gaining traction among some of the brightest minds in the world. The idea that we are living in a simulation has been around for centuries, but it's gained new momentum, thanks to recent advancements in technology and computing power. Some argue that if we are capable of creating complex simulations like video games and virtual reality experiences, then it's not a stretch to imagine that a more advanced civilization could create a simulation as sophisticated as our own reality. In fact, some scientists have even developed mathematical models to support the idea that we are living in a simulation. One of the most well-known proponents of the simulation hypothesis is Elon Musk, who has famously stated that he thinks the chances that we are living in base reality are 1 in billions. So if the simulation hypothesis is true, what does that mean for us? Well, it would mean that our entire understanding of reality would be called into question. It would mean that the world we experience, including our own thoughts and experiences, is just a program running on a computer. This idea may be unsettling at first, but it also has some interesting implications. For one, it could mean that the limitations of our reality are not set in stone, but rather can be expanded and altered by the creators of the simulation. So, why do some scientists and thinkers believe that we are living in a simulation? One of the biggest reasons is the concept of the brain in a vat thought experiment. This thought experiment proposes that our brains could be removed from our bodies and kept alive in a vat of nutrients, while a supercomputer stimulates our brains with electrical signals to create the illusion of a full, realistic world. While this may sound like science fiction, some argue that it's not outside the realm of possibility given our current understanding of the brain and technology. Additionally, the simulation hypothesis is supported by the idea of the observer effect in physics. This concept states that the act of observing a system can affect its behavior. In other words, the fact that we are conscious beings who are able to observe and interact with the world around us could be evidence that we are part of a simulated reality. Another piece of evidence for the simulation hypothesis is the concept of the multiverse. This theory proposes that there are multiple universes, or dimensions, that coexist with our own. If the multiverse is real, it's possible that our universe is just one of many, and that our reality is a simulation created by beings in another universe. And finally, the simulation hypothesis is supported by the fact that the laws of physics and the behavior of matter and energy in our universe can be described using mathematical models. This mathematical regularity leads some to believe that our reality is the product of a conscious, intelligent creator, rather than a random, natural occurrence. Another aspect of the simulation hypothesis that is worth exploring is the idea of free will. If we are living in a simulation, does that mean that our choices and actions are predetermined by the creators of the simulation? Some argue that if our reality is a simulation, then free will may not exist in the traditional sense. Instead, our choices and actions may be determined by the rules and algorithms of the simulation. However, others argue that even if we are living in a simulation, our experiences and choices still have meaning and value. Just because our actions may be predetermined by the simulation doesn't mean that they are any less real or significant to us. Additionally, the simulation hypothesis raises interesting questions about the nature of consciousness and reality. If our reality is a simulation, does that mean that our consciousness is also a product of the simulation? Some argue that consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe, and that it exists independently of our physical bodies and the simulation that we may be living in. Others argue that consciousness is an emergent property of complex systems like the human brain, and that it arises from the interactions of neurons and other cells in the brain. In either case, the idea that we may be living in a simulation raises fascinating questions about the nature of consciousness and how it relates to reality. So there you have it, a deeper exploration of the implications of the simulation hypothesis for free will and consciousness. While this idea may be difficult to fully grasp, it's a fascinating topic to consider and discuss. As always, it's up to each of us to decide what we believe about the true nature of reality. Thanks for watching, and be sure to leave your thoughts and questions in the comments below.